Isn't it funny? Have you ever noticed when you're on the motorway, actually, that anybody who's going slower than you is an idiot? Anybody who's going faster is a maniac. So in my life, I'm surrounded by maniacs and idiots, particularly when I get behind a wheel. And that's something of what I want to share with you today. Bubbles, we live in bubbles. Can I have the first slide? That's one not working. Or this one. Thank you. Got it. Oh, that one, that one. We all inhabit our bubbles. We all live by our eyes. We all live by our perception, by our mindsets. And that's a defense mechanism. It's part of our ego. We all have egos, some bigger than others, some very small. And that's good. But we need to recognize that sometimes. We have what the media call echo chambers, the current jargon word, which is really about prescribing to the words the news that you want to hear. So if you sign up for the BBC News now, you've got an option to listen to the news you want to hear, or the news you don't want to hear. And eventually you end up in an echo chamber of you only hearing the news you want to hear. Trump might call it fake news. Others might call it propaganda. But the reality is we have these perceptions. So looking at this picture, would you be happy for your son to be marrying that woman? Would you actually be not very happy? Because there's an old woman there and there's a young woman there. And I once showed this in a workshop I was doing in the city amongst traders, and a lot of macho testosterone within the room, and we started a fight at the back of the room because one guy thought it was an old woman, the other guy thought it was a young woman. And you could see the two. And the reality in our lives is not either or, it's also and. And sometimes we need to recognize that. I want to tell you a brief word about the board, what we're doing, what's happening. My key words would be consensus, sustainability, accompaniment, and finally I want to finish with a story of love and relationships. So looking at the board, there are 8 of us, 8 trustees. There are 4 of us here over the weekend. I hope you've had a chance to hear from the others you don't know. 5 of us are frontline volunteers, delivering focus, marriage preparation, counselling, in one shape or form. We have probably the best theologian in the United Kingdom on the board, Claire Watkins, and we have a priest, Father Meehl, who was appointed by the Cardinal, who is a wonderful gift to us as a priest. And we have Annie, who's our latest, newest trustee. She obtained the title Dancing Queen last night. Because, as usual, I was sitting on the side drinking cider, enjoying myself, thinking and talking and chatting, the usual things you do at conferences. Annie came and said, come on, you're going on the dance floor. And I said, no, honey, I'm okay. I'm sitting here talking. No, you're coming on the dance floor. No one refuses me. This was a bit of a shock. So Caroline was waiting. Yeah, go on. Great. So, anyway, I can see we've got interesting board meetings coming up. She's a new groom, so welcome, Annie, and thank you for coming. We try to make decisions based on trust. Try to seek the truth. And we try to make decisions based on love, not fear. All of those are countercultural. We're guided in many ways by Benedictine spirituality, which has been very close to my heart for 50 years or so. And the vows that a monk or a follower, any follower of Benedict makes, Saint Benedict makes, are, and if you can remember this, they are not chastity, yes obedience, yes chastity, but the vows they make are to stability, not to a place or buildings, but community. To change, conversion to life on the other side of the spectrum. So on one side you've got stability, on the other side you've got change, conversion to life, and right in the middle you've got obedience. And that produces consensus. And consensus is really what we should be striving for, which really means, in simple English, I may not agree with your decision. We've discussed it at length, maybe over weeks we've discussed it, and argued backwards and forwards. I may not agree with it, but ultimately I will go with it, and I will obey, and we will put it into action as a body, as a community. And that for me is a wonderful model about how to make decisions as a group, as a board, as a team, as a community. And that, I hope, is guiding us over the next years or so, when we have a number of quite tough decisions to make. Rather like a tanker in progress on the ocean, you can't suddenly change course. It takes 5 to 10 miles for the tanker to change course. We are rather like that, in that it is going to take time for us to understand where to change, how to change, in the best way. But the reality is we need to change. We need to adapt. If we don't, we will die. And you only have to look at nature for that. Anything in nature that does not change dies. And the seasons help. To keep doing the same thing and expect different results is not an option. To keep doing the same thing and expect different results is not an option. We have to find a more sustainable way of operating. And that will allow us to serve each other and to serve many thousands of clients that we meet every year. So where might we look for encouragement? My first choice is this man, a wonderful role model, a very strong voice, and rather like his namesake, St. Francis of Assisi, who said, spread the gospel, or the good news, spread the good news, and if you have to, use words. And that's a wonderful idea for us to practice, because we find ourselves, as facilitators, as counsellors, in positions of complete uniqueness. We find ourselves accompanying young couples in love, getting married. Older couples, we had the other day, we had a 45-year-old and a 50-year-old getting married and doing the married together. And you find yourself in that position, and they're asking questions. What is this business? What is this Christianity sometimes? Why should I bother to go to church? My partner goes to church. Why should I bother? What's it about? We find ourselves in positions there which are absolutely unique, and professional evangelizers, if you like to use that word, will give their right arm for. How can we respond to that? For me, this man is the answer. And he puts it beautifully in his book, The Gospel of Love. If you haven't read it, go away, buy it and read it, because it's a cracking reader. And unlike most Vatican documents, it's easy to understand. And he talks about the art of accompaniment, straight up our street, how to accompany people. Like all good accompanists on piano or any instrument, it's not about us. We are facilitating, we are accompanying people. And we need to remove our shoes because we're standing on holy ground. We need humility. We need love. And that is all countercultural. We are not ministers. We are ministers, we are not messiahs. Basically, we are true servants of the domestic church. Now that term domestic church can mean many things. It's not the holy family of 2 + 2 praying the rosary on Friday evening. It might be that, but it's not. Families are messy. We know that. And the sooner we accept that, put that into our churches, and accept that as the norm, the happier we should be. The domestic church is a true spirituality, which says it's holy to get up in the middle of the night to change your baby's nappy. It's holy to accompany someone to hospital, a neighbour It's holy to serve others. And that is as holy as any monk or nun praying vespers through the night. There is no difference in our presence for God in our lives, the presence of God in our lives. And that's mainstream theology. You may not have heard it before. It's not fringe stuff, it's mainstream theology, and it comes out of Vatican II, if you want to quote it. And that is what we do, for better or for worse. I want to finish with a story about love and responsibility, or love and relationship, responsibility, relationship. The Greeks had 4 words for love in the Bible. 2 of them appeared in the New Testament. Philia and agape. Philia meaning caring, tender love, but not all-encompassing. Typically, the sign of peace we say we give to each other at Mass. Perhaps used in that sentence, see how Christians love one another. Tender but not all-encompassing. Agape, on the other hand, is love without reserve, total and unconditional, in that I will give up my life for you. Greater love hath no man than to give up his life for another. Total dedication. So my story concerns a man called Peter. He betrayed his greatest friend, his mentor, his leader. This friend had changed Peter's life completely and utterly. And Peter betrayed him. So just close your eyes for a moment and think of a friend, not a family member, just 10 seconds. Think of a friend, somebody you know, your closest friend, your mentor, and then imagine you betrayed them to the extent that actually they were tortured and died. Quite horrific. Anyway, the story happened this way. Peter had had a bad day. Not a good day for Peter. The first thing, he'd been at a party that night, and he'd been told by his friend he was going to betray him. And Peter said, not me, mate. In front of all his mates, his greatest friends, 3 or 4 years, around the country. And he said, no, you will betray me. Peter said, no, you've got the wrong bloke, not me. Next thing he did wrong was he fell asleep. They all went outside, did a pray. Peter fell asleep together with the others. Another black mark. And finally, Peter was getting a bit fed up at the stage. They found a sword from somewhere. He's a fisherman, right? Fishermen don't carry swords around. Anyway, he found himself a sword. And so when the authorities came to arrest his friend, Peter drew out his sword and attempted to kill one of the guys arresting his mate. And all he did, incompetently, was cut off the bloke's ear. His friend healed that ear. So again, a bit more shame. So by the time his friend was taken into custody and started to be interrogated, Peter was a bit of a wreck, but he followed on behind. And eventually, as we know the story, he betrayed him. But the story doesn't end there, because as we know, he met his friend later on at a breakfast on the beach. And Jesus said to him, Peter, do you love me? Agape, total, unconditional love to the extent of death. And Peter recognized that, and he realized, actually, no, he didn't. He failed. But he said, yes, Lord, you know I love you. Philia. He asked him the second time, Peter, do you love me? Agape, with total unconditional love. Peter replied, you know I love you. Philia. And the third time, Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, Jesus, you know everything. You know I love you. At last, that last stage, God had come down to a level of Peter. We are all Peter in our lives. We have all done things, regretted things, but God comes down to meet us wherever we are, on the same level as us. And that for me is a wonderful sign that actually God is present in our lives, regardless of who we are or what we've done. So I want to leave you with one final song. Actually comes from Taizé. Have anybody been to Taizé? A wonderful ecumenical community in France. Do go, put it on your bucket list. It's a lovely community, and one of the songs that they use a lot ends in these words. And I'll pass that on to you, share that with you, to take away. It's about God being present in our lives. It's about God coming down to our level in life. He's always there. He's present. We may not recognize him, but he's present. So, finally, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all you do as volunteers. You are, as you recognize, you are our great untapped resource. And when we're looked at by bodies like the Charity Commission or the auditors, the one hidden gem we always have up our sleeve is the role of volunteers and the value of volunteers. So you are our goal. You are our hidden treasure, our secret that we beat the Charity Commission with. So thank you. Can I also say thank you, and I may not have another opportunity to do it, is just to say thank you to Mark and his team. These conferences don't just happen, as you know, and there's been a wonderful sense of calmness. We go to quite a lot of conferences, and you can always see the organisers because they're running around frazzled, and telephone calls, and this and that, things last minute. This conference has been beautifully organised, and there hasn't been that sense of frazzledness or urgency or immediacy. And that takes a lot of planning, a lot of experience, a lot of good leadership. So I'd just like to ask you to give a round of applause to Mark, to all of them.